You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
All right, good afternoon. Let me get that one right. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning, good night, goodbye, hello. Welcome along to a midday transfer show. Look, you all know, you've all read the news. We all kind of knew he was going. Have we got any Hot Fuzz fans in this afternoon? 3 words, the greater good. This is Leicester Till I Die. This is the transfer show. Good afternoon. And we've got Brad in. Good afternoon, Brad.
Good afternoon, mate. Well, I say good afternoon. There's, I suppose there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel of what we're about to discuss. With for those that, for those that have read the title of the show and maybe saw the news yesterday. I'm not just talking about the news we're going to talk about, the main headlines, but yeah, good afternoon. And that's my short answer. Over to you, Chris.
Hey, there is officially somebody with longer answers than you. And that is Craig from Up the Terrace in Aldi.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that is a competition I'd like to get into.
He makes you look like you talk shorthand. And the man who is very, very big, I'm told, down under. Luke, good afternoon. How are you feeling, sir?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How you going?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. Yeah, well, look, to us, well, certainly to me, I'm 63. I'm probably older than the pair of you put together. This just kind of goes with the territory of being a Leicester fan, unfortunately, but yeah, we get used to it. But we're going to start with some good news. Just a few hellos first of all. Hi Fields, hi John, hi Stuart, hi as well, and John, hello. Just adds Brad and Luke on the end there. Do you like Hot Fuzz, Brad?
Yeah, I do. It's a great movie. I love them two in movies. I think they're brilliant. Shaun of the Dead and even when he's in on his own with Run Fat Boy Run, I think they're brilliant actors.
I do. Hilarious. I absolutely do. So you know what I was referring to when I said the great.
I did.
Luke is looking a little bit confused. Don't worry, Luke. You're way too young. You're still in nappies.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, no, it makes absolutely no sense to you.
I've seen Shaun of the Dead, though, so I know who you're talking about. I'm a little bit clued in.
There we go. A little bit. They're not quite. Doug is in. Hi, Doug. The Three Musketeers. I don't know if you spelled that right.
Worse.
And he goes, I love Run Fat Boy Run. Indeed, it is a good film. How's Scotland, by the way, Doug? Tell you what, can I just say, Doug, by the way, it's been kept very quiet this year, but you know the football songs for like the Euros, and Scotland's was actually No Scotland, no party. Doug, we're still having a party. Just to let you know, he's going to hate me, isn't he? And
Yeah.
Subham, welcome back, mate. How are you? Should we start with some good news, guys? And Mike is in as well. Afternoon, Mike. How you doing? Like buses, one pops in and they all come in at once. Let's start with some good news. Let's cheer Luke up before we get into the bad news. Luke, it's official today. Abdul Fatawu becomes officially a permanent Leicester player following his loan spell, July the 1st. We knew it was going to happen, or did we? I mean, I always wonder, was there that little bit of doubt behind whether it would all go through or not?
Yeah, I definitely had a little bit of panic. I was like, oh, this is taking a bit of a long time now. And I was hearing that they're waiting for the new kit to come out. Have they actually made it official yet? Like on the Leicester page? Because I've just seen him been announcing it himself. I haven't actually seen him holding the shirt, which is why apparently they held it.
You're lucky if Leicester will announce it by this time next year, mate. Don't hold out.
There'll be 12 games into the season and we're going, why is he playing? He's not been signed. And then they're oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, that is Leicester. I mean, Brad, a little bit of doubt for you?
No, not really. And the only reason being, and I suppose I'm quite fortunate in this, is anyone who's ever played Football Manager or Championship Manager or any sort of game to that caliber, you do a contract agreement like this where you, because obviously we all knew the deal. It was a mandatory fee and we had to get promoted. I think the conditions were we had to get promoted and he had to achieve his own personal targets of like 10 assists and goals or whatever it was. And he obviously, the criteria was met. We got promoted. He met his criteria and now the fee's agreed. But when the transfer window opens, as we know, Chris, we weren't officially a Premier League side in the eyes of football until a couple of weeks ago. The transfer window wasn't open until a couple of weeks ago. And you don't return back to your parent clubs until this day. You know, everybody's still on holiday. They're probably in Ibiza. I mean, ask Kevin Grealish. I mean, Kevin Perry. I mean, Jack Grealish. You knew what I meant, Luke. That was good. But you know what I mean? So this the only issue we have with this loan move is unless you play them kind of games and have that inside information from having it happen to yourself, this deal doesn't happen until the turn of July. It never happens at the very opening of the window. I think anyone who was like, when the transfer window opened, like, where's Fatu? This was why. So I was probably one of the calmest people in the room because of my gaming knowledge. Gaming is violent, apparently, but not when it brings you information like this.
No. We're grateful you are. Luke, yeah, I mean, a lot's been happening this week. You know, today they've, officially the players that were leaving, 30th of June is when the contracts run out. So on the 1st of July, they've announced Brighton has officially left. Again, we knew though, Pratt is going to possibly be joining Anderlecht because, he's now a free agent. Well, we know he's been a free agent since the last game of the season, but his contract took him up until the 30th of June. So all the pieces are slowly, it's a bit like Tetris, all the pieces are slowly falling into place. But this, I mean, I'm so glad. There was always rumours, and with everything that's been going on, you never know with Leicester, but it's fantastic news, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it is. It is because for me, it's been Tetris in reverse because we're waiting for this July 1st till we get these signings. I've heard all these people that have left again on a free, hemorrhaging money. So I know that's not very positive. And then it is good to have Abdul Fatawu come in. Let's hope that after July 1st, maybe we can see indeed he put pen to paper, or we can start seeing his signings come in because I'm frightened.
Well, let's go into the show because indeed he does have an effect on one or two other things that are being rumoured. But we'll stick with what we know, and that is, and we've got Subham. He's a Chelsea fan. Welcome along, mate. How are you? How is it supporting Leicester B? By the way, I hope your team's doing well. Isn't it called Leicester and Hove Albion now? B. For Chelsea, I think that's your official name. We have your lad and you have our gem. Fabrizio tweeted it earlier, and Facebook and everything else. Chelsea complete deal for Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to join from Leicester. 30 million move in place, contract until June 2030, medical done. Chelsea talent Michael Golding will leave as Leicester sign him for 5 million in separate deal. Here we go, confirmed. And we'll come on to Michael Golding in a second. It does look a bit of a catch, to be honest with you. But look, this is what I've kind of put together from what I've been reading. The Foxes had a 40 million PSR financial hole. That was our immediate. We've got, obviously, there's other things going on. Yeah, we're, a lot more than that. But that was our immediate. For the end of June, we had to find 40 million from somewhere. And in fairness, Chelsea's a bit like our sugar daddy, Brad, if you want to put it that way. 10 million for Makeza, 30 million for KDH. Now, there's the 40 million. Leicester wanted 40 million for Dewsbury-Hall, but as it says there, significant pressure from Premier League profit and sustainability regulations may have been a factor behind them accepting less. Like you say, he didn't want to go, but it does make financial sense. We've done it early as well. Yes, we had to do it early, maybe because of the 30th of June deadline, although that being a weekend, it's allowed today. So it has got us out the shit somewhat, hasn't it, Brad?
Yeah, but it's the most piss annoying thing I've ever read in my life, because I just wonder, Chris, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm going to sound like someone who's got sour grapes or something, but what are these other clubs doing that mean they don't have to sell their best player to stay in it? I said this to you, and I can't remember if I said it on the other show, if I just said it to you in general. I feel like I've said it a lot, really. But when did it become a crime to get promoted? When did it become, and it's not just us, Chris, it's happened to other clubs. You see it all the time. They get promoted, and their biggest asset, their most valuable asset, they're one of their own, if you will, in our case, and maybe others as well, that they get told, oh, brilliant, welcome back to the Premier League. By the way, he's got to fuck off because, yeah, hold on. And again, broken record, sour grapes. I'm just stating facts here, though. 115 charges at Man City. £500 million worth of debt by the Glazers at Manchester United. Chelsea have 800 first team players on their books. But they don't have to sell. They're not selling players left, right, and centre. Their squad's not getting stripped to the bare bones. They're getting told, go on, keep breaking rules. It's all right, we'll get to you when we can be arsed. We've got to deal with Luton Town and Sheffield United and Leicester City first, because that's way more important. Look, and it riles me more because it's one of our own. He didn't want to leave. We discussed, didn't we, Chris? It was like when Izzet was forced to leave. It was when like Matt Piper, who wanted to stay, was forced to leave because we needed money quickly. Why do we have to sell our fucking best players to appease the rules? Because we're fearing -10, -20, -400 points, whatever they want to throw at us, because why not make up a number of you PSA abiding pricks, right? When Chelsea and Man City can sit in RB for Jack Grealish going, fucking brilliant breaking all these rules, isn't it? Yeah, can you believe it? All we did was say we're going to sue him. It's fucking brilliant. But I'm all right. I'm on the fence about it, mate. I'm calm.
Obviously. Yeah, look, we know other clubs have got problems, Luke. And if you look at the deals that are being done at the moment, there's an unwritten rule, apparently, where... and if you notice, a lot of clubs are transferring players between each other because that's one way that they're getting around it. But look, it's our problems we've got to sort out at the end of the day. I completely know where Brad's coming from and I feel his pain. But, at the end of the day, we've got to sort ourselves out. This doesn't, and Mike was asking, this doesn't really go anywhere towards, the money that we owe from the past. This is kind of just the money now. But at least, do we keep hold of Dewsbury-Hall and then maybe lose extra points because, we've broken it again, which makes it harder for us to try and stay up? Or do we try and stay up without him, but maybe have less points deducted, which gives us a better chance of staying up?
Okay, so yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you
That
about.
was a bit convoluted, wasn't it? I'm sorry,
No,
Luke.
it wasn't. I'm still thinking about. I want to add on to what Brad was saying and ask a question and answer at the same time. So,
Yeah,
the
go on.
first thing I want to bring up now that we're all talking about it is Dewsbury Hall. So, I don't think it was sold for enough, but as you said, we had to meet, profit and sustainability, whatever it is. Now, is that for this season or the next season? And the reason I ask is because if we just go by what you just said with, do we try and stay up without him? Let's say we would lose only a few more points or whatever, and we still had Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, a massive, bolster to our team. And let's say it's still not enough. And well, let's say because we don't have Dewsbury-Hall, we go down anyway. Well, we're going to have a points deduction also waiting for us in the championship. At what cost was this sacrifice? Was it worth it for 25 million and this gem, who I know we'll touch on? But what bothers me is, yes, I'm with Brad. I'm very frustrated that we're in this predicament. We've kind of done it though with our best players and reinvested it. But the problem is, for the last 2.5, 3 seasons, we've been hemorrhaging money and people going on a free. So it's not just us coming up from the league below. We should never have been relegated in the first place. And also, you see Forest come up and spend the bank and get punished, but they've stayed up. It would be different for the likes of Luton and Sheffield, but for Leicester, we've just pissed away too much money, unfortunately. So there's more to it than that. What makes me a sour grape is Man City cheating all the way to the bank, or Chelsea just selling a hotel. There's obviously ways to exploit these rules, and we're just not doing that.
We're not, and I think, as far as I understand it, this 40 million is for this period that's just ended here, because it's a rolling 3-year contract. Have you gone very small there, Luke? You have, haven't you?
Don't say that. His missus doesn't.
Are you slagging me off?
No. I thought your picture had gone small because I'm just having a bit of a move around while we're talking. But no, it's for the year that ends now, if you like, 30th of June, because that's when that was our argument, wasn't it, Brad, about the accounting period and what have you. Yeah. Chelsea are they can afford to do it. Look, we've got rich owners, but they haven't got a penny to rub together when you compare it to the likes of Chelsea and Man City owners.
Yeah.
And they can afford, they've offered Fofana, what was it, an 8-year contract or 6-year contract? If we started giving that out, that's just as bad as losing all these players for nothing, and we can't afford to have players that are sat there that don't want to play. Look at Danny Ward. We gave him a 5-year contract last season or the season before last. My God, that's really paying off, isn't it? Because we get a new manager coming in and suddenly he doesn't like Danny Ward. He wants his own goalkeeper in. But Chelsea can afford to have these players sat there and, what have you. So it had to be done. But I think, Luke, I'll stick with you with this one. I think that it's still, yes, we could have maybe held out for a little bit more, but it had to be done because of the PSR. And at least now, Cooper knows where he stands. The players come back, I think it's next week, 8th of July. He knows where he stands with his squad now.
Yeah, he does. But that's what makes it hurt the most. Dewsbury-Hall coming out saying he doesn't want to leave, which is why I won't begrudge the lad. I wish him all the best. We'll talk about that in a bit. But he came out and said he wants to stay. And then we hear talks of Cooper had already had a phone call, Dewsbury-Hall. So the whole time I've been hearing we're going to have to sell Dewsbury-Hall, and I've been the other way around. Now with egg on my face, been saying, no, there's no way he leaves. I don't think it's against bullshit. We're going to get points deducted anyway. And now here we are. And he's a Chelsea player on a 6-year deal, competing with 800 other players. And if Enzo doesn't,
let me just quickly correct you. They're not Chelsea. They're Leicester B, mate.
Yeah.
Apart from a striker, they've signed a position. They've signed a player from every position from us in the last 6 or 7 years, or 10 years.
Although we have been linked with the other Fofana at Chelsea. But that's kind of died a death. But imagine if a Fofana came back, that'd be a little bit scary.
Hold him up.
But do you think we have done right, Brad? I mean, look, apparently we'd got this agreement with Brighton. We're going to have that player coming in, and we discussed him the other day. I don't think either of us were particularly, jumping up and down, waving our knickers in the air at the thought of getting him. But as soon as Chelsea came, it was Dewsbury-Hall's decision. He didn't want Brighton.
Yeah, and I kind of get that. He's always spoke highly of Enzo. And again, despite the frustrations and despite me spitting fire out at the fact that we're the ones that have to deal with the rules, and I know, I hid it very well. I'm very good at keeping my cool and not exploding at situations like that. But if you're asking me in terms of not wanting to break the rules and basically relegate us before a ball's even kicked by having a second points deduction come our way, did we do the right things? Yeah. Does it boil my piss? Also, yes. But that is football. And this is so unfortunate because I feel like we've been punished, right? And again, I can't believe I'm saying this for like the 75th show in a row. But for all of you that are about to say it, Luke, right? Don't blame Rudkid. Don't blame Top. And here's why. We did stick by the rules. We sold a player of high value season in, season out. Go and ask Southampton how that worked out for them eventually. Selling the Lallana, selling the Milner, selling, was it Milner? I don't think he was there. That was Villa. Sorry, wrong player. But selling the Lallana, selling the Bale, selling the Van Dijks. They had their team stripped away. Funny enough, it's like Chelsea copying Liverpool's homework in that aspect because they were Southampton B, weren't they, Chris? You know what I'm on about with that era of Southampton quality players. Young aspiring players, homegrown players. Didn't matter who they were. Liverpool had no respect for them. They were ripping them out, and Southampton kept generating money. And then when they tried to push for more and they tried to go higher table, it backfired on them. And funny enough, what happened to Southampton, Chris? Didn't they get relegated all the way down to League One?
They went a long way down, didn't they? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a rhetorical question because the answer is yes, they did. They ended up in League One. They didn't come straight back up by Leicester standards like they did. They spent a few seasons there, but they came back down and now they're digging away. They're still struggling. They've had the season in Championship with us and come back up. Well done, Southampton. Brilliant playoffs. Anyway, but my point still stands, Chris. Chelsea can just keep spending, and I'm not just Chelsea, but the rest of them as well. But I'm making a point because they're the obvious targets here, right? With Bowley in charge, and nothing happens to them. We did that for 3 years, and purely because, Chris, we did not reach the top 4 target. It's become a disaster. But if Chelsea finish outside of Europe, what happened to them? When they didn't get Europe under Frank Lampard, what happened to them with no European football income? Where's their struggling to stay above water?
Indeed. Although I think they did qualify for Europe with Frank, didn't they? It was the season after that they did qualify.
Sorry. They qualified for the big top 4 Super League ready Chelsea qualified for the Europa Conference. Yeah, I'm sure that saved all their debts potentially coming out. It's ridiculous.
Thing is, though, mate, Luke, the way that it works, and again, I could be wrong. I'm sure Mike will correct me if I am wrong. But basically, is it a 6-year contract that KDH has been given?
Yes.
6 years.
It is.
Okay. So they've paid us 30 million. That is costing them against PSR 5 million a year. That's how it works out. Whatever the cost is, divided by the number of years. So he signed for 6 years, so it's costing them 5 million. We've just paid them, and we'll come on to him in a second, 5 million for a very exciting prospect. But it was a homegrown. Chelsea came through their academy, and because it was homegrown, came through the academy. That 5 million goes into that pot straight away. The whole 5 million.
Yeah, it's pure profit, and that prospect.
So basically, it's almost like when it comes to PSR, they're getting a free year with Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. That's how, but we can't afford to compete on that because we don't want to be giving players 6-7 year contracts, do we?
No, well, it depends on the player. But what's wild is Chelsea's doing this with like so many players that might not see barely any football, and they might be paying big wages for them, and then they're going to depreciate in value, not be able to be resold because people aren't seeing them play. So
keep going, Luke. I'm just being a prat. I'm being a teacher moment. Keep going.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just wild what they're doing. And this young lad that they've just sold for 5 million hasn't played any senior minutes of football whatsoever. It could be.
Well, he has. Sorry, he's played about 8 minutes. So don't knock him.
I'm not knocking him, but that was in a.
I was being sarcastic there. I was being sarcastic, but he has played literally about 8 million. About 8 million.
Of an FA. Yeah.
Apparently, he
paid
nearly
5 million.
scored and he nearly set a goal up within those 8 minutes. But that's how these things can be afforded. Like I say, 30 million, but it's only costing them 5 million a year. And then you've got us paying 5 million for this guy, and that's going all into 1 year. So it's, you know, I don't know how they can afford to do it, guys. Brad, let me come to you with this one, because my worry would be, like with Danny Ward, right? We gave him a 5-year contract because he looked at that time like going forward, he was going to be Leicester's number one. You know, we had the Seal in charge. He liked him. He was picking him at that point. We'd lost Casper, who I've got to say had a brilliant game the other night. I sometimes wish he was maybe still with us. But, and then you get another manager come in who doesn't like those players.
Yeah.
And we don't know who managers like Chelsea do.
Yeah. I mean, we had that period, didn't we? For a while when the owners first came in, it was managerial roundabouts for a while. In fact, we did it before Watford. But we did it before it was cool at Watford to sack managers every 6 weeks.
Well, we had Milan Mandrić. He goes through managers like we go through underwear.
Well, very true. But also, that's just unfortunately sod's law part of the game. You could have somebody in and Dave, like you said, Brendan wanted him to be the number one replacement. He hadn't let us down, let's be honest. We stepped in. We played some very high Premier League sides in cup matches as well. So it wasn't like we've seen him make a pair of shootout save against Grimsby Town. It was Wolves, it was Man City, it was Newcastle's and teams like that. So he'd shown us what he could do. We were all fairly excited for him to take the number one shirt. And then, like you say, it all went wrong. We got someone else in and someone went, "You're hopeless, mate. I want this kind of goalkeeper." And then Enzo comes in and goes, "I want to play this way." And I'm sure, no offense to the goalkeeper quality we've got in, I'm sure that's not going to change with Steve Cooper in charge. But like you said, Chris, and we can use Enzo as a perfect example, because I'm over calling him a snake now, because people get salty when I call them snakes. They talk business sense as if that's the same thing in this day and age. But with Enzo, didn't like, Christensen, it was, I don't want to play that style. That's not my style. Well, off you go then. No. Oh, well, can you play centre back? Would you be willing to do this? No, just sod you. I don't want you. Samare, well, can't be asked of you. Get straight down on loan. What if these players come back? George Thomas, another one who's had a bit of a disaster and a confidence knock last season with his 2 failed loanees at Sheffield and Middlesbrough. These players come back to Cooper. Cooper sees them train for a couple of weeks and goes, Why weren't you playing last season? I was out alone. Manager didn't like me. Well, do you want a second chance here at Leicester before you think about elsewhere? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm up for it. But let me know if I'm not even planned, because I want to go. And then, we're talking start of the season. Samare's in the team. Christensen's playing left back. Turns out, George Thomas can play right back and cover for Pereira when he's injured. You know what I mean, Chris? We don't know what's going to happen with any manager. Sometimes these long contracts can backfire, but it's a risk you take when you back that manager to be successful.
But again,
Chris, you raise a really good point, mate. You talking about Chelsea and the terms of like different managers, the managers they've had come in and have their own playing style and identity and players that they want. We paid the price for that with Rodgers and spending money himself. And now, to my understanding, it's all purely Martin Glover, nothing to do with Cooper or Enzo or whoever. So we were all told before that when after Enzo left that we want an attacking style, possession-based style manager, which is why I was worried when Cooper first came in, because we have to utilize what we've got. I've told you both this. It's my cause for concern is if we can't spend too much money, we need to utilize our strengths. And that is why Chelsea's in this predicament they are, in my opinion, because they've had too many managers of their own style, Potter, Tuchel, Pochettino. Now they've got Enzo and a crazy owner that's throwing money at them. I don't want to make that same mistake again, and I hope for that reason that Cooper works out and does play similar football to what we have been playing. Not like for like Enzo, but do you know what I mean? That's a very good point you raised about Chelsea.
A fraudulent slip there with Potter, wasn't it? I mean, yes, it is. But look, we'd all written Vestergaard off. and we suddenly found out he's actually not a bad player. All right, there's a separate argument and it's a separate show about.
No, it's a good point too, though. Yeah,
but he turned a player that we all said was absolutely shite into a player that was fucking good, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, again, we've given him a 3-year contract. Now we're back in the Premier League thanks to Enzo, and then Enzo buggered off. But yeah, there's a lot of players there that are coming back. Quick question before we move on to the next player, Luke. We sold 2 of our best players when we got relegated, Maddison and Barnes. And yet we still came back up. At the end of the day, it's one player. The club goes on. Who's to say that this, and we'll come to in a second, this new guy isn't going to be even better than him? I mean, players move on. Yes, he wanted to stay at the club, but needs must. And he's probably done us a bigger favour by moving on because it gives us a better opportunity not to be docked any more points. So one player, it isn't the whole club, is it?
No, it's not. What bothers me more is the morale thing. You're right, but don't forget that we got proper gutted, mate. Tillemans, Maddison, and Barnes, pretty substantial players to lose. And Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall felt all that was left, and we strengthened in the wing and other areas. But don't forget, where we're in the league below, we're now in the Premier League. It's good to have youngsters in the Championship or maybe sent out on loan. This is not the place to throw them to the wolves like we did of Luke Thomas in a possible dogfight relegation. So I hope that this ends up being a gem. Don't get me wrong, but we do need some established, proven players. And there's no need to panic just yet because I believe we're waiting till after July 1st to start splashing a bit of cash. But for me, mate, it's the biggest thing that concerns me is the morale. Everyone loved Enzo. Now he's gone. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, future potential captain and talisman of the club, gone. Where is the players' heads at? How do they feel? Are they feeling positive, or do they feel like they had the bath plug pulled out too early before it begun?
Brad, would you sooner have a club that is struggling to survive, but surviving and having to sell our best players, or would you sooner have a club like a Coventry or a Derby that's out of business, and we've been out of business, remember, once, nearly went twice? Would you, we haven't got our own ground because we've had to sell the ground. Which of those 2 positions would you sooner be in?
I'd rather be struggling but surviving in the Premier League than going to the piss pot that is Derby County and going through what they went through, especially Derby County, the fact that they've spent a few seasons in League One struggling away, and all the financial issues that Coventry have had ever since. So, look how long it's taken to them to recover, to finally get back in the stadium that's actually theirs and not leasing it and have to loan it and have to ground share. I'd much rather, like I said, am I happy with the fact that we've dealt with the issue to stop us having any further potential punishments? Yes. And I'd rather have it, especially if Chris come, May next year, Leicester are by goal difference, by goals scored, by a point, by by an unretired Wes Morgan butt cheek 96-minute goal. I don't care. As long as that table at the end reads Leicester City 17th or higher, I'm not bothered. And you could kind of take the momentum. I get what Luke's saying. In terms of the morale, but morale can change like that. First of all, we don't know how the players are going to react to Steve Cooper. First of all, whilst we've lost the name, we still don't know where Ndidi stands. Now, re-signing Ndidi could be a massive coup for us, as probably as big as filling the gap for Dewsbury-Hall for losing him, if you know what I mean. That could instantly solve a problem if we can get him signed and get him in, and get him kept at this club. And in a couple of weeks, there may be another Chelsea player. I said to you, didn't I, Chris, when you said he kind of hoped it was Cassidy? I feel like Cassidy is still going to cost us a bit of money. And because of this has to be done by the 30th of June, we can't spend a penny until today. That still could be a possibility. In 2 weeks' time, Chris, we can have 3 or 4 players through.
Yeah.
And it could be going, oh, well, yes, gutted we lost Dewsbury, but look at our squad now.
Unfortunately, I think I would have liked to have seen Cassidy because I think we didn't see the full potential of him. But unfortunately, Enzo likes him, so it might be Enzo that wants to keep him. But look, knowing that in a minute Luke is going to have to go, let's move on. Luke, Michael Golding, £5 million from Chelsea, attacking midfielder. Golding can play in multiple positions and is captain England and Chelsea at junior level. I'm just looking at his information here. He's 18 years old, central midfield, but he can play both attacking and defensive midfield as well. According to Transfer Market, he is a Leicester City player. He played for England under 15s. He then had a bit of a wobble and played for Ireland under 16s. He then went back to England under 16s, England under 17s, and England under 18s. He played 22 games for England under 17s and scored 4 goals. He hasn't seen a lot of action for Chelsea, like I say, apart from those few minutes. But Sobum, who was in, I don't know if he's still in the chat, was in the chat earlier, the Chelsea fan, speaks very, very highly. And everything I've read about him, here we go. Sobum just said Cassidy is still linked with Leicester. I wouldn't mind that. But this guy, Sobum, will come in and say, I'm sure, looks have great potential.
Yeah, so I hope so, mate, because look, I don't want to be defeated in terms of ambition for the club, but at the same time it's a harsh reality that we might go down. So let's say it doesn't pan out this season and we go down, and 5 million sounds like a lot for someone that's only played 7 to 8 minutes of FA Cup senior football, no matter how promising he is. But if this was a diamond in the rough, let's say, of one of their 800 players, and we were to get relegated, and this guy ends up being an absolute beast and gets that season of development he needs in the league below, that could be great, and then maybe we could turn a profit him. So I hope it works out for him, mate. I really do.
Yeah, Brad, your thoughts on the guy? I mean, I'm really, really impressed with what I've been reading about him. And yeah, I know 5 million these days, there's a bit of a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah, it's patent. It's absolute pennies to it, isn't it?
I'm old enough to remember the days when we paid 5 million for Akinbaye, and I fell off my chair. Not because it was Akinbaye at the point, but because it was 5 million.
And for those of you that don't know, right, we refer to Akinbaye not by his name, but we called him Adi Aki Badbaye because it was the worst 5 million we ever spent. My dad's a Wolves fan, and he never lets me forget it. He's in the next room, so I love him dearly. I love him dearly, my dad. Although to be fair, I do have, it is what it is. And 5 million these days. Look, if you want to talk best case scenario, worst case scenario, best case scenario is he's an absolute wizard. We paid 5 million for him. I mean, to be fair, for all the ins and outs with Chelsea, I mentioned him earlier in the show in relation to Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, i.e. not wanting to leave, but needed to leave for the great of the club, for the financial situation of the club. We got Izzet off them for Jack Hall, didn't we? And he turned out to be a pretty decent midfielder for several years for us. Who knows? And look, again, matching the mantra of the manager, you mentioned, Chris, that he was under 17 World Cup winner with Steve Cooper. He likes to work with the youngsters.
Yes.
Kind of
he may well have been there. 2022. I think Cooper might have left by then, but
still, he was part of the mentor there. He's got the same integrity to want to work with youngsters, and you never know. And again, to kind of go on Luke's worst case scenario, we go. Let's say, no matter what the points deduction, whether we get them, whether we don't, whether we fall short or not, we do get relegated. We're going to have a player who you'd like to think to some degree, being as we're bringing him in, is going to experience some form of Premier League football, whether it's off the bench, whether it's cup games against Premier League opposition, we don't know, we'll find out. But he'll be the man that's going to be there for the long term. He's an 18-year-old who's going to want to be here in probably at least 3 or 4 years before Chelsea want him back for 45 million,
Yes.
But you know what I mean, Chris? This has the potential to really benefit Leicester in the long run. And if in 5 years' time we're sat here going, up, Major, remember we're going to pay 5 million for him. We could be talking about him like we're talking about the Mahrez deal and the Vardy deals and the Drinkwater deals to this day and age. Obviously, Vardy's not left, but the fact, £1 million for what we got.
Exactly. But Luke, I mean, with Cassidy, for example, he won the Golden Boot at the under-18 or whatever it was, Euros, World Cup, whatever. He was going to be the next best thing, and he still might be. And I would not be disappointed if he came in at all. And we've got Alves, and we've got Baybrook, and we've got Nelson. We've got these youngsters coming through. And I'm one of these that, look, if they're good enough, they're old enough. I don't care. You know, is it Portugal, Spain? I mean, sorry, Spain have got a 16-year-old playing for the national team at the Euros. And as Alan Hansen once said, you don't win anything with youngsters, and he was proved totally wrong. The future's bright in a way.
Yeah, I hope so, mate. Like, look at Bellingham. Like, granted, he's a freak of nature and like a once in a generation player, but he was killing it already at 17, 18 at Dortmund, like very young. They've already retired his number at Birmingham to its mental. And he's not even 20 yet, I don't think, or he's just turned 20. So, mate, this guy could be a gem, yeah, to be positive. But look, guys, I do have to shoot. Thank you for having me on. I've been hanging out to do one of these with you for a while, so, and Chris Brad too. So, all the best, guys. And
don't hang out, please. That is not a nice sight. Put it away, please.
Went fluid Aussie on you.
All the best, mate. Take care. See you soon,
Take care, buddy.
See you later, Brad.
There, thank you very much. It's funny hours over there. It's funny hours.
It is. And now it's gone, Chris. Come on, give me all this room at the bottom. Come on, I can stretch my arms out here. How's the space?
The problem is if I stretch you out, you still only just sit in the middle.
That's great, isn't it?
Mike, no, I'm all right, but thank you very much, mate. We're not going to be on a lot longer. So basically, what I'm saying is that this guy really, really does excite me.
Yeah, he does. He does me as well. You know, not just because he's got lots of potential. Chelsea fans, honest Chelsea fans, even those that there's even some that are a bit sour about it because they wanted him to maybe make that step up and join the likes of Palmer and then I didn't really want to see him go. All right, it doesn't always work out like that when you hear it from oppositions. But no. Chris, maybe this is a trick that we're missing as well. You know, because okay, he's 18, so you know he's not expected. You know, there's going to be a lot of fans that probably aren't expecting to see him play week in, week out for Leicester this season. But if PSR rules or whatever the piss and hell they're called are so scrutinised and only punishable if your name begins with mid-table and not top six elite love child clubs, you know. Why don't we take this?
Let it go.
Yeah, no, I won't. But Chris, with the points deduction, and I ask this to you, but also anyone in the chat, let me know if you agree with me or disagree, because we love a disagreement, a heartly disagreement. Don't just say you're wrong and you're a knob and just be an idiot like some people have on this channel, although they weren't Leicester fans, but hey ho. My question to you is, Chris, if we're going to get a points deduction, right, and we've lost Dewsbury Hall. And again, all right, he might sign a contract, but let's assume right now until something's told to us, we're going to lose Ndidi. We've got a better squad on paper. Let's be honest with ourselves. We've got a better squad on paper, even without Ndidi and Dewsbury Hall, than the team that got promoted under Nigel Pearson. Yeah. We've got a more experienced Premier League squad than the team under Nigel Pearson. That's even including the addition of Robert Huth in January that season. Let's be honest, saved our season, right? Okay, we've got Nelson, we've got Baybrook, we've got Alvarez, we've now got Golding. Let's just say we get the worst case scenario, which I think is minus 10 points for us, Chris. Is this not the best season to go? Well, instead of going in a vicious cycle and having to sell a player because we might break the rules, or we're going to be 30 million in the hole, or 15 or 50 million, or whatever it will be, the next time it happens, keep doing this. Why don't we take the gamble and just play them?
Yeah.
Why don't we have a midfield of Braybrook, Alvarez, you know, and Golding and Winks, you know, and a Fatawu, and just fucking throw them at the Premier League? Because what I've noticed with these youngsters, Chris, especially in the Euros tournament, again, that 16-year-old's a great example, is they're fearless. They are fearless. They're not afraid to get stuck in. They're not afraid to knock the ball past and try and run past you and that. Yes, they'll take a knock and go flying when a fully grown adult takes them out, but they'll get back up. They won't roll around like some of them do. Maybe this is the one where Leicester take the sensible gamble and just go, let's not spend much money. Let's play with what we've got.
Yeah. And it will give them experience as well. Do you remember? I'm sure you remember when a certain Leicester City, Mike, if you're still in, I have sent a tweet to you, by the way. But do you remember when we played Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup?
Oh.
Yes, exactly.
Which time?
They beat us 4-0.
Oh, yeah.
That time. Yeah. Well, the game before that, we played Watford. And if you remember, it was during COVID and we had a lot of players that couldn't play or weren't well. And we stuck the youngsters in. And we beat Watford.
Mm-hmm.
Quite. I think it was 2-1, 3-1. We beat them reasonably comfortably. And then we got Forest in the next round. We brought all the big names back and they stuffed us 4-0, 4-1, whatever it was. Like Ferguson, you know, sometimes, like I said earlier, if you're old enough, you're young enough.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's right. Sorry, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I mean,
yeah. Well, the Bournemouth team we put out had Nelson at centre back, didn't it? I think we had we had that Radicu or you know,
she's a tennis player.
Yeah. Well, I might as well call him that because you know I can't pronounce his name, even though it's so easy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to call him Radicu because why not? We had him in midfield, and again, even though he was absolutely quality last season, Fatawu was 19. You know, played 40 plus games for us last season, Chris, in the Championship, which isn't no mean feat to do in that division. You know, so we've done it before, we've done well, and that's why I say, Chris, maybe the best way to rally the troops and bring back morale is go, well, yes, we've lost Dewsbury Hall, but I believe in this bunch to do the job. You know, because at Nottingham he was forced to make 38 signings because he lost 28 players from loans and deals that never happened, sort of thing, or they weren't good enough, so he had to replace them. Here, I would argue, Chris, to a degree, with Cody, and I know you don't like him, or you're not his biggest fan, should I say, but FaZe, Vestergaard, you love Child, Justin, Ricardo Pereira, Madsen Manson, Harry Winks. Again, question marks. So I can't include Ndidi until something happens, but potentially Samore, Christensen, etc. The list goes on of our team, and you can look at our team and go, he's got a chance, you know. He's got a chance of doing it with what he's got. I mean, yes, would we have loved, you know, Ndidi to sign a contract and KDH to have not been going Chelsea? Of course we would. Of course we'd want that to happen. Am I annoyed that one won't sign a new contract? We're going to lose them, and one's had to go because of our PSR or PRS or whatever it is. Of course I am. But do I feel like this squad isn't good enough to go up, stay up? Sorry, as it is. No, I think we've got a good quality on paper. Like I think it's Subham says, as long as the man up in charge, not Top or Rudkin, as most people think, who runs his club, because apparently Rudkin's fault for everything.
Well, apparently it was his fault that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Well, I got a cold last week, and it's all Rudkin's fault. You know what I mean? But all jokes aside, like you said, Cooper, that's what it all hinges on. If he gets us going and we get out of the negatives in the first 5 games, Chris, I just think this is the sensible gamble. Buy a player like Goldson for 5 million. Maybe buy a Golding, Goldson, Goldstein, whatever. It's Goldberg, whatever. Whoopi Goldberg, sign her in for 5 minutes. You know what I mean, Chris? Maybe get Castay with a loan to buy option or something like that. And let's see what happens this season. Don't go fucking chucking 60 million at it just because we can afford a loss of 80. Why not? Is this not the best time to give him a chance?
This guy is 18. Jude Bellingham was 18 when he went to Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, Erling Haaland was banging in goals for Borussia Dortmund at a young age. Who else? Jadon Sancho was doing for Borussia Dortmund. Maybe we just send them all to Dortmund on loan.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
That's what we do.
Now, Mike is in. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Long time no see.
Indeed, it seems to have been ages. I hope Wales are having a good Euros. Oh, sorry, they're not there, are they?
Yeah, Ashley Williams is doing some great punditry.
Bad me there. Bad me. never mind. You might get a good manager if they sack the guy in charge. Oh no, you can't. Your choice of him has gone to Leicester. No, not your off season, is it? But lots of change, lots of purchases at Newport. Look, you know, tell us what you know about this Michael Golding.
Well,
Brad.
what
Golding.
I read is what obviously God is what I put in the chat, that he's can play a number of positions in midfield, either defensive, box to box, or attacking. But even when he does play, from what I've seen, and he played in the under 17 Euros, I think it was, for England, alongside Ethan Nawari, who's at Arsenal, who's a very good player. And yeah, he looks like he's got the ability to even play when he plays deep, to still have that attacking sort of impotence in the defensive role, which allows you to then play an attacking-minded player in an attacking position as a number 10, whilst also getting the creativity from deep as well. Because a lot of people think that the number 10 or the central attacking midfielder is the only player that you can get the creativity from. But actually, if you've got clever midfielders behind them, they can also create as well. Because Rodri, the myth that Rodri, all he does is stop goals, is a total myth. The amount of goals and assists he gets is a joke.
I mean, Ray there has just said, Brad, I'm looking at Golding highlights and I was amazed. He has speed, flair, dribbles, and does the one thing Maddison and Hall didn't do, play through balls. Vardy and Daka will score in bunches. Look, I mean, we'll wait and see, won't we? But I am happy. I don't know, you've got to be happy, haven't you, Brad?
Yeah, I'm happy again. These exciting young talents, they I guess they're fearless. They've got everything to gain, and realistically, nothing to lose, have they? Because if he plays a blinder for Leicester, then if Leicester are going to go back to the old mantra, and I know I said give it until he's about 2021 and Chelsea buy him about 45 million, but that could happen, couldn't it? It could be next year. If he goes and has a whopper of a season, then Leicester go, okay, well, we want to make some more money. We stop, do what I said, and they don't really spend much at all, and they're in a profit situation. They can turn around and go, yeah, he's a young lad, he's got the potential, and the most exciting thing about it is how many children, I wouldn't call him a child, he's technically an adult, I suppose, but how many youngsters play in an academy the size of Chelsea or Man City, probably even Liverpool's academy as well. I don't know if theirs is in the same sort of velocity of players as how many Chelsea and Man City and maybe even Man United have. I'm sure Mike knows that better than most, but he obviously wants to play first team football, because I'm sure with the way Chelsea fans speak about him and how well he's seemingly done for their teams, Chelsea could have offered him an 87-year contract, because apparently that's what we offer them these days, lifetime contracts, even though they're supposed to be scrapped. But they could have offered him stupid money just to stay at Chelsea, and he gone, well, I'd rather sit on the bench and that, because he knows it's potentially happening with the crazy yanking there. But he's chosen to, well, obviously we need to dot the I's and cross the T's. It's not 100% yet, but it sounds like he's gone, yes, I like that opportunity. I like what I'm hearing about Leicester. I'm going to go there and try and make my mark in football.
Just breaking news, as Sobham has just written in the thing, Jude Bellingham was alleged to have grabbed his crotch after celebrating stoppage time equaliser against Slovakia, which is denied was aimed at his opponents. Might have just had itchy balls, UEFA. I mean, surely bigger things to
Jude Bellingham put on Twitter last night that it was apparently to do with a bet they had, or a bet they had with one of his mates or something, to do a stupid celebration after the game. But people just jump onto anything. And
well, UEFA have got nothing better to do, have they? Ignore the racism and violence and just get on with
these fucking the snowflakes in the world, man. They'd catch a fart in someone's shorts and get and investigate it in case you've been offensive to someone.
There is history though. Simone Atletico Madrid did it, and he was fined 20,000 euros for doing that to Juventus. Mike, what do you know about this guy? I see he did comment when I clicked it on earlier. Well, first of all, Brad, look, we're linked with him. First of all, sorry, 30 million. It's surely that's out of our price range now, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, Chris, now this point of cut off to get ourselves out of debt is there. That whole profit margin and what you're allowed to be losing over this next 3-year period for Leicester is at zero. Leicester's financial year for the first of 3 starts now. So technically, like you said, Chris, we're not poor. You know, we've just been trying to abide by the rules as best we can. And all right, them failed Champions League attempts have clearly, obviously, cost the club over the long haul. But in terms of, can the club just go, okay, so our bank balance is essentially, that's to make it easier for everybody to understand, myself included, to be honest with you, Leicester are essentially at zero. Okay, well, we're at zero because we haven't spent anything. We're going to be at -5 for this Chelsea. So we'll probably make the profit back because we, funny enough, they're in a multi-billion-pound airport business. So that's probably nothing to them. Okay, then we can spend 30 million on this guy. As long as we don't, we've just got to be careful. It depends how many players he wants to bring in, because again, you say 5 million for a youngster's a drop in the ocean. Scary thing is, Chris, 30 million pounds for a decent, well-established player is now a drop in the ocean.
As it says there, I think if indeed he signs, that might sort of call our interest anyway. But do you know anything about him, Mike?
Yeah, he's not a goal scorer. That's the only issue. I don't think he's scored for Benfica since he's been there, but he's not like the type of midfielder they'd expect to. He is basically a Rodri. He will sit in front of the back four, will barely get dribble past. I don't know the stats on. Look, I love football, guys, but even I don't know how many times he's bloody been dribbled past in his career. But I don't think it's many, because I know that.
How many times has he been offside?
416.
Sorry, Brad, couldn't resist it. But yeah, sorry, Matt, have we got somebody like that called Samari, Brad?
Yeah, we do. And again, you'd probably say that just because it hasn't worked out for him so far at Leicester, the journalistic expectation is, Samari, but they're obviously going to sell him or get rid of him. People won't like him. No other manager has. But Vestergaard, like I said, complete answer to that. We don't know. And again, it's now loony season. Now Leicester fans can sort of breathe a sigh of relief. Like I said, the bank balance essentially is at zero, and that profit loss margin again. Now we paid the £40 million for the rules. We reset that value, so there's going to be millions of speculations. I've seen this linked with a £19 million player. It's going to be too much. A £5 million player that's linked with 4 other clubs. This guy now, and I'm not saying this guy isn't going to be a decent player and his stats don't matter, and his stats aren't brilliant, but like you said, we don't know about Ndidi. Samare can do this role. That's what he was originally brought in for. But again, I mean, Brendan tried to put triangles in circle holes, mate. So that's probably why he never really took off a success under Brendan. But we could see that.
Yeah. Interesting thing, Mike, and this will make you laugh and Brad as well, because they're a team that we both hate, Leeds United.
Sorry, it's just natural.
They're losing players left, right, and centre. I mean, that Gray, who was Eddie Gray's nephew or something, that should have Leeds going, or still is his nephew, should have Leeds going through his blood. He could be on the move.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal now. He's gone to Tottenham for 40 million.
Yeah. It's done deal, is it? Oh, I didn't know it had been a done deal.
Well, they snatched him from Brentford then, because that's where he was originally going, wasn't he?
Would you go to Brentford if Tottenham came knocking?
No, I'm not saying you would, but I'm just thinking maybe more playing time. But he is a good.
Well, you got more chance of winning a trophy if you go to Brentford.
Well, that's true.
Mike knows.
That is true. But this guy, now he was on loan at Leeds last year. We have been interested in him. Leeds wanted him. as well back. But apparently Ipswich Town have made an offer. I wouldn't mind this guy, Mike.
Yeah.
Joe Roden.
Yeah, apparently it's I don't know if I'm right. I think someone will correct me, but I think Joe Roden has now gone to Leeds as part of the Archie Gray deal going to
Has he?
Tottenham, yeah. But Roden, obviously he's Welsh. He is brilliant. This is where Chris quickly moves on and swiftly forgets that Joe Roden was ever linked to Leicester.
I know this is so. I mean, I only literally did these an hour ago. This is how bloody out of date these things get.
But yeah, Joe Roden is not just physical, but he can actually play with the ball. He can actually play the ball. Well out of defence. He's not just this, because when you look at him, he doesn't look like the type of player that is nice and that you'd get on with down the pub. He looks like he would absolutely lever you. He is a physical centre back, but he can also play the ball out of the back roll. I don't know if it is a done deal to Tottenham as part of Archie Gray. I'm not too sure, because a lot of teams do that, don't they, to sweeten the deal. Oh, what a shock to lessen the money that they have to pay to bend around PSR. But
I'm just looking. There's nothing up here. Would you have liked? Oh, here we go. Yeah, Archie Gray has completed his move. Plus Joe Roden, who was on loan at last season, heading to Allen Road on a permanent deal. So we've lost him, Brad. I wouldn't have minded him, actually.
I wouldn't have minded him, but again, I don't know if that's a position we need to really add strength to. Because I think there's possibilities that we've got players that we could either keep and they would be the backup, like your Thomases, your Christiansens, I'm sorry to say it, Chris, but I think next season Vestergaard's going to be a rotational centre back.
I agree. No, mate, I agree totally.
Yeah, I think we're pretty settled on that. And worst case scenario, Chris, we sell your Christiansens and your George Thomases and we go out and probably spend 15, 16 million on replacement. But also we've got Nelson in there. We've probably got 7 or 8. I mean, I've said for a while, Chris, that the back line for Leicester, we've been very settled on having abundance of players available for that role. Would I have liked him? I wouldn't have minded him. I think he could have got in the team. I think he would have played. But I'm not ultimately sat here going, that's a big loss to Leicester not making a move for him.
Yeah, no, indeed. Guys, thank you very much indeed. Mike, I'm going to meet you again later tonight after the football.
Yep.
If you're not there, I'll start myself.
Is it after the 8 o'clock game, Chris, or after the 5? Because I'm busy in between the two.
If you're busy in between the two, it doesn't matter. I'm doing both. But if you're busy in between the two, after the late night one, and probably won't have Craig on tonight, so you'll get a word in.
Yes, very much so. I'll let Mike take this one, and then he carries on the.
I know. Even Brad has never done that. I'll let Mike. I'll let Mike do this one. And 5 minutes later, poor Mike still sat there waiting, and I can't get a word in to interrupt him to stop him.
Because he don't.
He needs to come with his own little electric collar for all the hosts of the channels, doesn't it? So when he goes on for more than 4.5 minutes, you just shock him.
Yeah.
The way Craig speaks, he doesn't stop. Like, he doesn't stop me. He's just no. That's the way through. It's like, is he going to stop?
Funny enough, that's all I hear when he starts talking as well, Mike. Harry Redknapp.
Well, last night, when I started to say about, like, where are you from, etc., I could see he was about to go on about all these ex-Peep players or ex-stars he's had on his show, and bless him, but I haven't heard of half of them. But I cut him off before he could even start. Mike, it's Mike Green on YouTube. Thank you very much. Get over there and check him out, guys. And I will see you later tonight.
See you later tonight, Chris. Thanks for getting me on.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. And Bradders, LTID TV 2.
Yeah, that's where you want to go. Follow us over there. We're going to start soon doing the women's content for LCFC Women's and LCFC, and eventually once we get things up and running properly this season and things are a lot more regular over there, once I've finally got everything here now, coming to, like a transfer negotiation, Chris, and a contract renewal. It's finally getting to the end of it for me over here, so I'm finally settling back in and getting a routine going. So yeah, if you like football quizzes and stuff like that, do go and get ready to watch this space, because as Fabrizio once said, here we go. That's what we're hoping for.
And coming up soon, we did say we're going to do this. We will be having a show explaining the new prediction league.
Yes, we will. We're having a boardroom meeting about it, and then we're going to bring you a show. Yay! There we go. There we go.
Anyway, mate, thanks very much. Take care. You know where I am, and I'll speak to you very, very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining, and I'll speak to you, no doubt, soon, Chris.
Cheers, bud. Thanks very much. Take care.
Take care, mate.
Thanks very much to Brad there. And that's it. That is the transfer news as we stand. I will be back tonight at about 10 to 5 for the first of the watch-alongs, which is it France-Belgium tonight? I could be totally honest with you. I'm completely lost as to who's playing tonight. It's two teams are playing in the Euros. No idea. What is it? France and Belgium. Indeed. That could be a very, very good game. I think France are going to storm it, to be honest with you. I haven't been impressed with Belgium, but we shall see. Cheers, Mike. Yes, I literally just came to me as we were speaking. I will see you then at 5 o'clock. Thanks very much. Take care, everybody. Remember, get over to Mike's channel, get over to LTIDDV2, and if you've not yet subbed to this channel, do that as well, please, and smash the likes. It really, really, really does help the channel out more than you know. Take care, and I'll see you just before 5 o'clock. Cheers.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.